The start of the 2023 tennis season is going to look a little bit different this time because out goes the ATP Cup, in comes the United Cup. This is breaking news as of yesterday morning. I want to talk about my thoughts. Do I think this is a good thing, a bad thing? And obviously, like anything else, there's going to be a mixed bag. So I just want to talk about this major change in the calendar, but it's also, I think, bigger than just we get a new event, because this move could be leading to bigger things. I'll tell you more in a moment. But obviously, the big change here from ATP Cup to United Cup, hence the name, is that the tours are uniting and that women are going to be involved in this team event. It's going to be similar to the ATP Cup in the sense that it's going to be a team event based on nationality, and it's going to be in Australia, and it's going to lead up to the Australian Open. So all of those things are the same. You're adding women into the mix, which is in every way a good thing. You're adding star power by adding the women. It felt a little bit awkward as the ATP Cup happened alongside some of the regular WTA events, and it didn't really feel like on the women's side there was a build-up to the Australian Open. It just, everything felt a little bit small in the lead up to the Australian Open. So this should remedy that. Look, tennis, one of the biggest things that tennis can leverage as a sport, a selling point to both its fans and its sponsors, is that men and women compete alongside each other. So in that way, it is just a really good amendment to the ATP Cup. But I also think that there's a larger thing at play here, which is that Steve Simon, the CEO of the WTA, Andrea Gaudenzi, the CEO of the ATP, have, over the last couple of years, been talking about the possibility of merging the tours. And while I don't think that this is really close to happening, I do think that it's something that everyone in the higher positions have at least in their mind, in an ideal world, an idea that that is something that they want. And this could act as somewhat of a test run for that. There's going to be a lot of different factors involved here and some interesting things to watch. Will live stats and results be on both websites? ATP, WTA, I know that the United Cup has its own website that has already launched, but what will that look like in terms of the data and the media? Who does the world feed? Now, Tennis Australia is also involved in putting this together, so I have no doubt that Tennis Australia will be managing the broadcast operations. But is it going to go on Tennis TV? Is it going to go on the WTA streaming service? How's that going to work? Is the media info going to be shared or separate? That's inside baseball, but like for a WTA event and an ATP event, the info that is sent out to the media comes from two separate, I would say, communications firms. What's going to happen here? What about Hologic? Hologic is the title naming sponsor of the WTA Tour. Are they going to have any presence with the United Cup? So all of these little things are just these small, yes, they're finer details, but these little reminders of how the ATP Tour and the WTA Tour operate very, very separately. And this is the first chance that we're going to see, the first chance we're going to have to see how they manage this kind of merged event. And it could act as sort of a test run, almost getting their toes wet in preparation for discussing a potential merger, which again, I don't know if it's realistic. I don't think it's very close, but I do think it's something both sides, in theory, want. However, I do think that some of the flaws that the ATP Cup had are still going to be present with the introduction of the United Cup. My biggest issue with the ATP Cup was the method of qualification, the fact that there was a lot of unfairness involved, a lot of luck involved in terms of the players who qualified, particularly the players who are not the top players. And the second thing is the fact that because a lot of lower ranked players, by nature of the qualification system, got to participate, you got some crummy matches on paper. Matches that, look, full respect to the quality of tennis that, you know, lower ranked players are able to bring, full respect to what they're able to do as athletes. However, this is an event, and the ATP Cup was an event that had the prize money and the rankings points of a 500 level event. So this is no shade to ITF level tennis, no shade to challenger level tennis. It's remarkable. However, there should be a difference when there's 500 rankings points on the line and there's prize money that reflects a high level tour event. And that's what this is. The way ATP Cup qualification worked is it just mattered who your top ranked player was. It was all about the top ranked player. So if you are Denmark, for example, let me say Norway. I meant to say Norway. Apologies. If you are Norway, for example, you qualify because of Casper Ruud, but your second best player is Viktor Darasovic, who's currently the world number 337. At the time of ATP Cup, he was 345 in the world. We got Pablo Carreño Busta versus Viktor Darasovic. We got Filip Krajinovic versus Viktor Darasovic. We got, Alejandro Tabilo, who's a good quality challenger level player, against Viktor Darasovic. This isn't great. Mikhail Pervolarakis is the second best player from Greece, and Pervolarakis actually got a win in this year's ATP Cup against Alexander Metrivelli. That was Pervolarakis, ranked 399 in the world, against Alexander Metrivelli of Georgia, qualified because of Nicholas Basilashvili, ranked 570. This is 399 versus 570 with loads of rankings points on the line, although they do scale it down for lower ranked players, so it's not completely bizarre. Pervolarakis is another example. Again, no disrespect to those players, and I don't mean to pick on them. The point is they don't deserve, the only reason I'm talking about them is because they happen to have been born in the right country. And in that sense, the qualification is by nature just sort of unfair. Meanwhile, if you're like Karen Khachanov, and now he's the third-ranked Russian, but he was, at the time, the fourth-ranked Russian because of Rublev, Medvedev, and Karatsev. Khachanov is not playing ATP Cup because he's not ranked high enough. You get the inconsistency there? Unfortunately for the United Cup, they did not remedy this. Instead, the six highest ranked players on both sides, men and women, are going to make up the first 12 teams. And after that, the next 6 teams qualify based on the combined ranking of top man and top women. Australia is guaranteed a spot. So we're going to have the same problem. On the women's side, you're going to have a country like Tunisia, where Ange Jabeur, number 2 ranked player in the world. After that, both on the men and the women, they don't have anyone really. Number 253, number 335, number 901. I think that, for a country to qualify, ideally, they should be using the combined ranking man and women for every spot, not just the last 6 spots. That's if I had my way, but they want stars. Obviously, they want stars. So I was a little bit disappointed to see that issue with the ATP Cup is going to make its way over to the United Cup. Prize money will be $23 million, rankings points 500. The points are the biggest difference, by the way, from the Hopman Cup, which this is also much bigger than the Hopman Cup, which only featured 8 teams. So this is going to be better than the Hopman Cup, which offered no rankings points and as a result felt like, in every sense of the word, an exhibition. I really didn't miss the Hopman Cup. I didn't need the Hopman Cup because I didn't think that an exhibition was really what that part of the calendar kind of needs. Personal opinion. No Russians or Belarusians right now. That's absolutely correct. In my opinion, there's no place for those particular countries to be competing in team events at the moment. They will be allowed to play the Australian Open. I also agree with that. The format will be 2 women's singles, 2 men's singles, and 1 mixed doubles. So doubles, somewhat de-emphasized. I don't have a problem with that. 1 doubles is fine. The other problem, of course, is that this is still very similar to Davis Cup and Fed Cup. Do I really think there's a need for both? No, not really, but at least this feels different. So now you have now you have 3 major team events, or I should say 4 major team events in Fed Cup, Davis Cup, which is kind of like one. I'm sorry, I'm calling it Fed Cup. Billie Jean King Cup is now what it's called. You have BJK Cup and Davis Cup, and then you have Laver Cup, and now you have United Cup. At least since United Cup is combined, it no longer feels like we have a major redundancy in like, oh, Canada wins the ATP Cup, and now can they win the Davis Cup? It's like we clearly didn't need both of those things happening. Clearly. So this is an improvement on the ATP Cup, an improvement on the Hopman Cup, in my opinion. Obviously gets rid of the redundancy. I think for the most part, it's good. Some of the bad is going to be brought over. Hopefully the crowds are good, because at the end of the day, that's what makes team events fun, is the crowds. That is yet to be seen. I will say that, ATP Cup didn't really have much of a chance for the crowds to be a factor. Other than 2020, you had the pandemic completely putting a barrier in terms of the success of the ATP Cup when it came to their crowds. So I saw a lot of criticism about the ATP Cup crowds, but they didn't have a chance. Now the United Cup will have no excuse, as Australia's borders, from what I understand, are pretty open at this point, which is a great thing. So those are my thoughts on the United Cup. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll have a Paris preview coming out, and tomorrow I will cover the Alcaraz versus Felix Auger-Aliassime match. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.